Hello guys, we are on the third game in the pawn chains concept, and this game is also a French defense, and this game is played between Nimzowitsch and Salve in Carlsbad 1911. The game goes e4, e6, d4, d5, e5. Nimzowitsch was the first to explain details in this line. He gave prospects and evergreen ideas for both sides. Thanks to him, many great masters of the last century were honored to test and add to his colossal work. Now c5 and c3. For the next two moves, black naturally chooses two out of the three following moves. That is the knight c6 or bishop d7 or queen d7. He goes for knight c6. Here bishop d7, knight f3, queen b6 can be played with the idea of c takes d4 followed by bishop b5. It is good for black to exchange light squared bishops, even though some time will be wasted. After knight c6, knight f3, queen b6. Here bishop d7 here can lead to positions where black plays for f6 and then he puts knight ge7 and from e7 the knight goes to g6, then bishop e7. Very often various move orders just lead to transpositions. Here after queen b6, now bishop d3, now bishop d7. And this move is known to be imprecise. Nimzowitsch later explained that c takes d4, and after c takes d4, then bishop d7 is the correct move order. He explained that the lines after bishop c2 or bishop e2 are very promising for black. Nowadays, players who opt for uh, bishop d3 on the sixth move usually sacrifice the d4 pawn, seeking the initiative. After bishop d3, black plays bishop d7, then d takes c5, and this is the point. The black knight and the queen are now without prospects. The c5 bishop will be driven back, and the d7 bishop cannot be exchanged. Now bishop takes c5, castle shot, f6, and f6. This is another dubious move. Black hopes that he will be able to undermine white's pawn chain. However, he should have foreseen that the white pieces will be installed on the squares vacated by the pawns. Here knight ge7, then there is b4. Here a5 was the best choice. After f6, bishop e. After f6, then b4, bishop e7, then bishop f4, f takes e5, knight takes e5, knight takes e5, bishop takes e5. Now knight f6. Here even bishop f6 can be tried in order to eliminate the blockader. After queen h5 check, g6, and bishop takes g6, hg6, queen takes g6, king e7, bishop takes f6, knight takes f6, queen g7, king d6, queen takes f6 was shown by Nimzowitsch as a potential continuation, but the simple move uh, I mean after bishop f6, even knight d2 is good. After knight f6, knight d2, castle shot, knight f3, bishop d6. White is definitely better. He has fixed black's hanging pawns in the center and must now maintain his blockade. Now queen e2. Here bishop d4 would be wrong due to queen c7. Now queen to e2, then knight to g4, then h3, and e5, and the blockade is no longer. Here instead of h3, if a bishop takes h7, then king takes h7, knight g5 check, king g6, queen takes g4, and bishop takes h2, king h1, queen f4 is very good for black. So bishop d4 would be wrong. So white played queen e2, rook a c8, bishop d4, queen c7. Now knight e5, bishop e8. Black tries to regroup. Now rook a e1. Oh, I'm sorry. Rook a e1. Uh, rook a e1. Bishop takes e5. Here instead knight e4 should have been tried. After bishop takes e4, d takes e4, queen takes e4, then bishop to b5, c4, bishop takes c4, after knight takes c4, then queen takes c4. Now queen takes e6, queen takes e6, rook takes e6, bishop takes b4, bishop takes a7, rook a8, bishop e3, rook takes a2, rook b6, bishop d2, bishop takes d2, rook takes d2, then rook takes b7 is an interesting and long variation showing that black still had a better option than this move on the game. This endgame should be an easy draw. but black went for bishop takes e5, and after bishop takes e5, then queen c6, then bishop d4, then bishop d7. White pieces are dominating when controlling the center. You should be able to play on either flank. In this game, logically, white chooses the king side. All of his pieces are targeting black's king. Now queen c2, white hopes to create a weakness on the king side. Also, rather importantly, the rook joins the attack. Now rook f7, rook e3, b6, and rook to g3. Now king h8. Black overlooked this nice tactical shot. Knight e4, hoping for an endgame with opposite colored bishops, was his last practical chance, even if losing a pawn. Bishop takes e4, d takes e4, rook e1 is very bad for black, but still a better option than the move in the game. He played king h8. Now bishop takes h7. If at all the knight takes h7, then rook h3 comes. So black played e5 here. After e5, bishop to g6, then rook e7. Now rook e1. Now queen d6. Now bishop e3. White has gained a pawn and destroyed black's king shelter. White is winning. Now d4. Now bishop to g5. Then rook takes c3. Rook takes c3. D takes c3. Queen takes c3. King g8. Black has exchanged material to avoid direct threats on his king. White's pieces dominate and he consolidates his queen side. No need to rush. Now a3, king f8, and bishop to h4. The e5 pawn is the next target. And now bishop to e8. Now bishop f5. Now queen to d4. Queen takes d4, e takes d4. Now white just turns the game into a completely winning endgame. Now rook takes e7, king takes e7. Now bishop to d3, king d6, bishop takes f6. Very soon two connected pass pawns will be created. After g takes f6, king f1, bishop c6, now h4. Black resigned here. A very instructive performance by the great Nimzowitsch. He convincingly proved one of his postulates. A pawn chain should be attacked from both sides, both the base and the front, only if the opponent pieces cannot be installed on the vacated squares. In this game, Nimzowitsch installed his pieces on the vacated squares and created an irresistible blockade. And this is a fabulous game. Okay guys, I hope you would have enjoyed the game. I'll be meeting you in the next game. Thank you all.